You may wonder, why would a 34-year-old be talking about ageism and old age? It's because this is an issue that does not only concern today's older generation, but everyone, as we will all one day become old. And the truth is, our human rights diminish with age. This is what the working group that was established by the United Nations to better protect human rights in old age concluded during its last meeting. To create a society for all ages, we must confront the injustice of ageism. And I believe that in order to fight ageism, we desperately need a new international binding agreement, a UN convention, just like the one we have for gender equality. And this is an issue that concerns my rights, just like it concerns your rights. So what are UN conventions? UN conventions are not silver bullets, but neither are they naive aspirations. Thanks to the UN Convention Against Racism, governments now have a legal obligation to abolish all discriminatory laws in their countries. The UN Convention on Women's Rights is a powerful tool in the hands of women and their representative organizations in order to call for more equal access to education and to work and to fight sexual harassment and abuse. And the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities created an obligation for employers to make their working environments more accessible for workers with disabilities. And why do we need the convention to fight ageism? Our laws reflect the same implicit biases that we have as individuals. So they tend to consider older people as less productive, less valuable to society, and a burden to the economy and to younger generations. And this is why we still have in our laws and in our policies age limits in access to work-related training, even though at the same time we aim to extend working lives. We also have age limits in access to health preventive screening, despite aiming to prevent disease and to promote healthy aging. And in some countries, if you develop a disabling condition before the age of 60 or 65, you may have access to a relatively good system of support. But beyond that age, you may not have access to rehabilitation, to a mobility allowance, or even care at home, outside a nursing home. Our laws and our courts have failed systematically to challenge these age-based restrictions. Instead, they consider them so-called objectively justified. So our laws today are not well equipped to detect, to prevent, and to challenge ageism. Now, it's not so long ago that also discrimination on the basis of one's sex was considered objectively justified. Until the 1970s, Irish women were required to leave their jobs in civil service once they got married. But luckily, thanks to the European Gender Equality Directives and the UN Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, Ireland and other countries have abandoned such laws. And importantly, our societies have become more conscious of how such practices constitute human rights violations that we collectively need to prevent and to redress. Now, there's a working group at the United Nations discussing the feasibility of drafting a new UN convention. And an increasing number of governments and experts and NGOs are showing their support for such a convention. Yet many of us are not even aware that this process is underway. And some disagree. They fear that the new convention is like admitting that older people have more or different rights than others. This fault line is fundamentally flawed, because a new UN convention is about recognizing that all members of society are equal, regardless of age, and about accepting that until now, we do not treat older people as equals. Due to age limits, we discriminate, marginalize, and exclude them in almost all aspects of their lives. We do not give them the same opportunities to participate and contribute to society. And we undermine acts like elder abuse and neglect by considering them almost normal parts of caregiving instead of as wrong and harmful situations. Now, a new convention can help us challenge the situations. It would elevate them to human rights violations that are deeply rooted in ageism. And it would create an obligation for governments to take action to prevent and to fight ageism. And this is crucial, because unless we name something as problematic, it will continue to be the norm. And it will also create a collective responsibility for each and every one of us to recognize the injustice of such actions. I believe that rights should not retire, and I do not want to see my opportunities for learning, participation, and growth diminish with age. This is why I am supporting a new UN Convention. Join me in this cause to end ageism. Thank you.